Hey there, Susie here. If you work one-on-one with clients, it's easy to think that your income is capped by the number of hours you can work. But believe me, it doesn't have to be like that. When I first started, I believed the same thing, that my revenue would hit a ceiling once my hours were maxed out. But I explored new strategies and I realized my profit didn't need to be tied to the clock. That's exactly what I want to share with you at the Profitable Business Workshop. I'll show you how to grow your business and your income with the products and services that will help you get your money goals, and how to help more clients without burning out or feeling like your income is capped by time. Grab your free seat at profitablebusinessworkshop.com now. That's profitablebusinessworkshop.com, and I'll see you there. Hey there, Susie here. In the last episode of the show, we talked about leadership. This is part 2 of a mini-series all about leadership. And in the first episode, we talked about self-leadership and team leadership. In this episode, we're going to talk about demonstrating leadership in your industry and the role that self-leadership plays in that. I want you to have the full picture before we dive in. So if you haven't listened to episode 315, I recommend that you hop on over, have a listen, and then come on back. If you've already listened, let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to the Her Business Podcast. I'm your host, Susie Daphnis. I'm the CEO at Her Business. If you joined me last week, we talked about how to become the leader that you and your team need. We explored what it means to truly step into leadership inside your own business and how to move from being the doer of all the tasks to the director, someone who builds a culture where people feel empowered and inspired to do their best work. And we talked about why the leadership of yourself is the foundation of everything. Today we're continuing that conversation, but we are turning it outward. How do we show up as leaders out there in the world to the people that it matters for us to be seen as a leader? Because your industry needs you to lead. Your clients, they need your leadership. And in this episode, we'll talk about your visibility, your voice, your authority, the impact that you can have beyond the walls of your business. And at its core, today's subject, how to be the leader in your industry, is all about being known for what you do and what you stand for. It's also about showing up with confidence, consistently sharing the message you believe in, and establishing yourself as a trusted voice in your space. And I know some of us do this better than others. So before we dive into the specifics, I want to clarify something. Becoming a leader in your industry and seen as one does not mean you have to be the loudest person in the room. You don't need to show up on every platform or jump on trends that are going around TikTok, or always be on and front-facing and extroverted. But there are a couple of things you need, but the main thing is to be clear. This is a core element of being a leader in your industry. Are you clear about who your ideal client is and who you help? Are you clear about what you offer? Are you clear about the value that only you can bring? Because it's your clarity paired with your willingness to be seen that makes you magnetic. That is what draws opportunities to you instead of you needing to constantly chase opportunities. But I want you to catch what I said. Clarity alone is not enough. It needs to be paired with a willingness to be seen. And I found that that can be the hardest part, especially for women. Now, I can not tell you how many women business owners I've met who know their business inside out. They know their offer. They know who their ideal client is and what they stand for. They're clear on that, but when it comes to the messaging, that's where they get tripped up. That's where doubt and fear come into play. And I'll be honest with you, I've dealt with that exact fear. If you go to the Her Business website or Instagram or any of our platforms, you'll see my face and the brand that I stand behind. But for the longest time, you couldn't even find a single picture of me. I didn't have a photo of me on the website, let alone reels and videos of myself talking to camera. I stayed right behind the scenes. And this was because I was so much more comfortable promoting other women and experts, male and female, shining the light on them, lifting them up, which is something I still deeply love to do to this day. I love creating a platform for people to shine. But I wasn't truly claiming my own voice as a business leader and mentor for the longest time. Why was I doing that? Because visibility is incredibly vulnerable, isn't it? It's intimidating to put yourself out there, to stand behind what you know and to position yourself with confidence as a leader in your industry and to say, I know a few things. And I remember being invited to headline a major event for women business owners. And this was a while back. My initial instinct was, no, I don't have time. No, someone else would be a better choice. No, who am I to stand on stage as an authority? But you know what really made me take a step back, take a breath, and want to step up? I knew that I wanted other women to show up in their own industries. And if I wanted that, I needed to go first. I needed to lead by example and take that leap. And you have been such a motivator for me so many times. I couldn't hold other women to a standard that I wasn't willing to meet myself. So I started small. And I want you to know that you can start small as well as you start to be seen as the leader in your industry. You don't need to jump in the deep end doing things that make you super uncomfortable. You can ease into it. And we'll talk about that today. So I began sharing my thoughts more openly. I started saying yes to speaking gigs that I'd previously shied away from. Then I began getting comfortable showing up on video and writing and publishing more under my own name. And I even put my photos on the website. Yeah, not just one photo, multiple photos, which might seem like a small step, but it was a huge emotional leap for me. It was vulnerable. But guess what happened as I started showing myself and my opinions more and more? People started saying, you said exactly what I've been thinking. You put words into what I didn't know how to say. I've been waiting for someone to say this. I've been waiting for someone I can relate to, someone who understands me. Other women started feeling seen and heard because I was making myself seen and heard. And becoming a leader in your industry is about making those small, consistent steps forward in your visibility. I believe that one of my purposes for being here on this planet is to help more women become visible. And it's something I've been doing for the last 30 years inside of her business. It's also about staying true to your message and knowing that there are people out there who want to and need to hear what you have to say. And it's not about you doing it perfectly. You might trip over your words during that speaking event. You might feel awkward in that video. You will probably mess up at some point, but consistently showing up and being willing to be seen is the key. To be seen imperfectly. And I think that desire to show up perfectly is what holds us back from being more visible. I know it was a huge block for me. We say, oh, look, I just need more time. I need to do a few more takes. I just need more experience. People are going to think I'm braggy. What if I mess up and I say the wrong thing? What if I look uncomfortable or silly? And we tell ourselves these stories to stay safe and to avoid judgment and to protect ourselves from any sort of discomfort. And while those feelings are intrusive thoughts, they're natural. But they keep us small because you're always going to need just one more time, just one more rehearsal, just a bit more experience to feel ready. But if you never take action, if you never share those thoughts, if you don't tell that internal chatter to shove off, you are going to remain where you are now. And you'll end up sitting quietly on expertise that could change someone else's life. You could let your own dreams stall because you're waiting on the perfect moment, the right amount of confidence, the correct recipe for validation. And I know for me, I'm always more moved by the idea of doing something in order to help someone else than I am to help myself. So if you're like me, then bring that person into your mind when you get scared. Think of the person who needs to hear what you have to say. So maybe you're a financial advisor who helps female divorcees. So think of that woman who needs to hear your message. Or maybe you're a grief counsellor and you just can't bring yourself to get in front of the camera. Think of one person, one parent, one sister, one child who needs to hear your message and speak right to them. Maybe you help women go through menopause. Think about the woman who's really struggling right now without knowing what she needs to feel better in her body because her body feels like it's betraying her. She feels like she's losing her mind. Now, no matter what industry you're in, think about who you can help, who you serve. Remember, they want and need to hear your message. So don't stall on your own progress, keeping yourself small. And I promise not to do that either, because we are depriving people of what we can offer them. And if you have doubts and fears, guess what? That's probably a sign that you are on the edge of a meaningful breakthrough. If it didn't matter to you, if you didn't care deeply, if you didn't want to help others, you probably wouldn't feel nervous in the first place. So embrace that fear, that doubt of showing up, of being seen as the leader, even if you're not perfect and you haven't got everything wrapped up with a bow in it. Embrace that there's going to be some mind chatter. But it's just a symptom that great things are ahead. And those nerves can actually be just the doorway you need to go through to start to make an impact on people. Just a few months ago, probably 3 months ago, I was invited to be a panelist on a talk, and I was going to talk about imposter syndrome. And You know what happened before I got to the event? I was feeling imposter syndrome. But the reason I said yes, the reason I got myself in the car onto that stage is because I knew that other women business owners would be there. I knew that they could benefit from my story and my thoughts. So keep in mind the big picture. Remember your why when this fear of leading, with this fear of showing up, pops up. Because I bet you don't want to become a leader in your industry just for the recognition, just for the fame. Though if you are doing it for the fame, good for you. I freaking applaud you. However, most women don't want the visibility just for the sake of visibility. They have a bigger, different why. And you can always circle back around when fear creeps in if you're really clear on that why. Because there's so much that you miss out on when you don't say yes to those opportunities. Not every opportunity, the ones that you know are going to step you out of your comfort zone and have you show up as a leader in your industry. We don't want to be the best kept secret, pouring our heart into our work without getting the return. And you could lose out on dream clients to your competitors because they're simply more visible, not more capable. And gosh, I see this all the time. People with, but half a brain, totally trumping people who are just not willing to shine. You could lose out on increasing your rates and getting clients who will happily pay you more. And over time, your confidence can chip away because deep down you know you are meant for more, but you might just be too scared to lead in that way. That's why stepping into visibility is part of stepping into your leadership in your industry. And this matters. It matters to your bank account. It matters to your clients and to your happiness and to your impact and to your growth. So what can happen when you stand in your knowledge and you share it generously with the world? Now, I have seen this play out time and time again for members inside of the Her Business community. I've seen members who were once terrified to post on LinkedIn or run a tiny workshop or pitch themselves to podcasts, seeing them step into their power and having their worlds open up. Dream clients reaching out, speaking opportunities, media opportunities, book deals, podcast invitations. And every time they stepped into their power, they were willing to be seen as a leader, their confidence skyrocketed, their authority deepened, and business opportunities that would have seemed like a pipe dream, they started to flow in. And this is what happens when you let your expertise shine and you take the leap to be showing up as a leader. You become the person people think of when they're ready to invest, when they're ready to lose some weight, when they're ready to tackle menopause, when they're ready to, put solar into their house, when they're ready to, find the right college for their kids, whatever it is. People are wanting guidance in the exact niche that you specialize in. But if they can't see you, if you're not visible as a leader, how are they going to find you? You have to put yourself on their radar first. You have to show up for yourself, for your clients, for your industry. You have to be willing to be seen as a leader. This episode is all about that sort of leadership. And I'm going to give you a bit of an exercise to help you identify what avenue to take to become a leader in your industry. And don't worry, if you're on the go right now, you can always back up and listen, but just listen through now and you might be able to do some of this internally just in your head. But I want to actually dispel a couple of myths before we go first. And I said one at the beginning of the episode. You don't need to be the loudest or most extroverted person in the room. Showing up as a leader and increasing your visibility is not the same as being a show person, right? You don't need to put on a different face or act like a different person or be extra showy. You have authority as you are now. You have experience in what you're doing. You wouldn't be doing something if you had no clue what you were doing. So putting on an act you think others are going to like, one, it's never worth it. Two, it's exhausting not being yourself. So just show up as you are. Another myth I want to bust is that you do not need a big following or a big email list or a lot of website traffic. You don't. You don't need to have a huge audience. When we're talking about visibility, I think our minds go to the superstars of our industries who have hundreds or thousands or millions of followers on Instagram and tons of podcast subscribers and a very popular website or whatever it is. You don't need to become that sort of visible in your industry. I've seen so many members of the Her Business community accomplish so much just by putting themselves out there, even within our community, showing up inside of our Facebook group, showing up on our events. And they don't have huge followings, but they are showing up and they're demonstrating their authority and their leadership, and they're getting new clients and they're reaching more people and they're getting doors open up for them. One of our amazing members is Amanda Farmer of Your Strata Property. And over the last 3 to 5 years, I have seen her establish her visibility, her authority in her industry in a major way. Now, she has put herself forward for interviews in major media. She's become famous in her niche. She's landed on TV shows, on the radio, in newspapers. She's called on by councils to speak to their members. She's even been flown in a private plane to attend a committee and run a committee meeting. And she's become visible as a leader in her industry as the lawyer who strata property owners can access to demystify the legal complexities of apartment living. So keep your message clear. Know your target audience. Speak to what you know. Those who need your message are going to find you, but you have to be out there for them to find you. And I'll say something about it later, but just know it doesn't mean you have to have your face everywhere, but you need to have your business visible. For you to be a leader in your industry, people need to know you, they need to know your business. You don't need the attention of the masses, and you probably don't want it. The other thing is you don't have to be perfectly polished all the time. This is a tough one because for me, I represent women business owners. And so professionalism in the way I show up, in how I speak, in how our events are run, everything is such a high value for me and for my team. However, I now know, now more than ever, people are craving authenticity. They're craving real people, real experiences that they can relate to. And I don't know about you, but I have seen the most realistic looking AI videos out there. And they're incredible. You know, you can have a perfect looking video created by AI. But is that what people want? Is that what people are going to connect to? Or are people going to appreciate your authenticity and your honesty more now? That doesn't mean you have to show up from your bed, in your pajamas, in your bikini, whatever. You know, if that's you, do you. But they just want to get to know you as a real person. And often we are just like our ideal client. And so they will relate to us if we show up as ourselves. So don't hold yourself to a standard that's impossible to achieve. People don't want perfection. They want authenticity. And I know the word authenticity gets bandied around. So what does it even mean? To me, it means being present, really here, speaking what's in my heart and mind without needing to be right or to be perfect. So we've dealt with a few myths. So let's get into some of the details. What steps can you actually take to start becoming a leader in your industry? And not just becoming a leader, being seen as the leader that you are. I don't want this episode to be an inspiring pep talk. I want you to walk away with some actual things that you can do that fit you best. And so I want you to answer a few prompts for me. And as I said, if you're on the go, just answer these in your head. Or if you're somewhere where you can break out a journal or a doc, then go ahead and write on those. The first thing is, what are your non-negotiable boundaries when it comes to visibility? Go ahead and set those first, and it's going to take some of the fear away. Do you have immobilizing stage fright? Great, don't get on a stage. You don't have to push yourself into difficult. Let's just ease into what is a little bit of a challenge, but that is not going to break us, right? You can revisit getting on a stage down the road where you might have more confidence. Do you hate the idea of being on camera? Okay, you don't have to be on camera. So maybe starting a YouTube channel or posting yourself on social media is not the best way for you to show up as a leader. What are your non-negotiables? Right? Each of us has them. The thing that I'm not willing to do right now. Over time, some of those things will change. But for now, figure out, how am I willing to show up? In what conditions am I willing to be visible? In what way am I willing to be the authority? Is it through having a blog, having a newsletter, having my photo on my website, doing some reels, doing some emails, being on interviews? Like, figure out, well, how am I willing to show up as a leader in my industry? What are your non-negotiables? So make sure that they're out of the way and that they're not stopping you from just doing something. All right. So the next prompt is, what brings you joy or excitement when you think about being more visible? So maybe you love to write. Maybe you've written all your life and the idea of starting to blog or a regular newsletter is kind of exciting. Or maybe you love teaching others. I love teaching. So for me to jump on a webinar is so much easier than me doing a whole lot of other things. Maybe it's working directly with your clients in real time, problem solving, live conversations. And if you do like being on stage or in the media, then do more of that. I love being in the media. I haven't done it for ages. I used to be in the media all the time and I had a real strategy. And then I kind of went into hiding and it's time for me to come out. Maybe it's time for you to come out too. Now, a friend of mine had a great tip. She said, you know what, if you're introverted, if you're shy, you don't have to be in the spotlight, but your business does. So take the focus off yourself for a moment and look at, how do I get my business more visible? Do I need to enter competitions, put myself forward for an award, author a report that's published under my company name? And the other question I want to ask you is, what feels doable for you? Okay, so I've already asked you, what are your non-negotiables? What are you actually willing to do to start stepping out? And then what brings you joy and what feels doable? So you don't want to add one more dreaded responsibility on your list. You don't want to be doing stuff you hate. So what feels doable and exciting? Something that you could bring into your routine. If you love writing, lean into that. Start writing articles on LinkedIn. Share your stories and lessons to your email list. If you love talking in depth about your expertise, but you have a non-negotiable about being on camera, start pitching to podcasts. Be a guest. Share your expertise without having to share your face. Or start something of your own. If you thrive off those working sessions, working directly with clients, start hosting webinars where you can get into the details, or doing mentoring, or some way where you can work one-on-one. If you are actually one of those people that gets excited about the idea of sharing videos of your products or speaking on camera, then start showing up more consistently on social media. You don't have to do all the things I've mentioned, but find what kind of feels like it's in the groove for you. We have some members in the network who thrive on showing up live. Crocheters, like Siona, who has a crochet membership, she gets thousands and thousands and thousands of views of her crocheting on her Instagram channel. Fiona from Style Liberation, who's a stylist, and she helps women 35 plus feel, fabulous because they create wardrobes full of outfits that they absolutely love without starting from scratch. She's great online. She's great in Reels. She's great at presenting webinars. So find the way that is right for you. The point I'm making is you don't need to force yourself into something that feels awful. Because what's going to happen is you're going to get off here and you go, yep, good idea, Susie, and then not do anything. You don't need to be everywhere at once. You don't have to start doing something you hate just to gain visibility. So find the right avenue that lights you up and start there. You want this to feel exciting, not a new one more thing for you to do. The more it energizes you, the more likely you are to consistently show up and get the support you need. Like, I put this show out every single week, and for the last year or so, we've been so consistent. I don't think we've missed a week, except where we have specifically, like, Susie's away, we're going to, go fortnightly or whatever. And the way that I make that happen is it's a team sport. I work with someone on our team to come up with the concepts. Someone on the team books the guests that I have on the show, and I show up and I do my magic as I know how to do it. But I've got some accountability as well. So do what works for you. But constantly showing up is what cements your authority. That consistency is how people start to see you. Oh, when they see you again. Oh, and they see you again. So see how all this loops back to you. In the last episode, in episode 315, we talked about self-leadership and how leading your team starts with leading yourself. And it's the same thing here. To become a great leader in your industry, you first need to lead yourself. That means knowing when you're running on empty, checking yourself when you start doubting yourself, not looking for external validation when you could validate yourself. And self-leadership starts with speaking to yourself with encouragement rather than shaming yourself. It means creating space for yourself to learn, not just do a performance. It means acknowledging your limitations and what you're good at and what you're not good at, and doing that without any guilt. And it means giving yourself a break, literally resting, reflecting. You don't want to reflect, you want to reflect and grow. And hey, no one is perfect. I am constantly reminding myself to be more self-compassionate, to cut myself some slack, because self-compassion is what gives you the staying power that you're going to need to be a leader in your industry. Because what will happen is competition will show up. You'll see someone doing it better than you. And that's where that self-compassion comes in. It's going to allow you to lead sustainably, going, you know what? I'm always in the learner's seat. I'm just getting better and better. Self-leadership work, it's a daily thing. It's why we're talking about self-leadership here, and we talked about it in the last episode, and I will continue to talk about it. It's how you manage your energy. or answer that tricky email, or how you pause before reacting and all the moments of grace you give yourself when you miss a goal. So if we're closing out this 2-part mini-series, which we are, I want to ask you a question. When was the last time you gave yourself permission to lead your business, to have self-leadership, to really lead your team, not just manage them? There's a leader inside of you with her own leadership style, her own attributes and skills, but you have to start thinking of yourself as a leader, whether you have 1 staff member or 100. It took me ages to own the fact that I was the leader. But when I did, there was no going back. No one said, okay, I ordain you now as a leader. I had to take that ownership. And maybe you've seen someone like you leading while you kind of sit in the shadows hoping nobody notices you're there. Or maybe you've been so busy supporting everyone else, but you're not being seen. Or maybe you are, being one of the team and not really owning your authority because you want to be liked. We all want to be liked. I get that. But when you step into your true leadership, you're serving. I really think of leadership as serving. You're going to be serving your clients. You're going to be serving your team. You're going to be serving yourself. Leadership isn't something that we can just check the box on. It's something that we claim by deciding that my voice, your vision, your values, your abilities, your expertise, they all matter. We cannot wait to be chosen. We get to choose ourselves. We get to grant ourselves permission to step into leadership. So, acknowledge where you've been leading, acknowledge where you haven't been, you've been hiding, and start acting, even if you don't feel 100% ready. Don't wait for more confidence to come in or more accolades or the certificate to be issued to you, because it's never going to come in full. So write that post, pitch yourself to that panel, start that blog, send the email about your podcast that you think you'd be great on, like approach that person. Hey, can I speak to your group? Hey, I see you've got a conference. Hey, I know something about something that might be useful for your audience. And the most important thing is surround yourself with people who are also stepping up. Inside of Her Business, we have a mantra which is show up. How do we show up for our clients, for ourselves, for each other? And so I want you to get inspired by other women who are leading in their own businesses. They're leading their teams. They're leading themselves. They're showing up as leaders in their industry. And get that inspiration, whether it's following them on social media, talking to them, connecting with them inside of networks like Her Business. There are so many inspirational women who are making the right moves, the moves that you want to be making. To be the leader that your industry needs, to be the leader your team needs, you have to first become the leader that you need. So I really want you to show yourself that love and confidence that you have got this. And today and this episode and the last one kind of are twins. They kind of go together. They offer a few core messages, including your industry is waiting for you to lead. Someone is waiting for a leader just like you. You don't need to be more polished, more perfect, a future version of yourself. It needs you right now with the insights you have, the experiences you have, the perspectives you have, bringing your heart to the table. And you can do that. You can show up without doing things you fundamentally dislike. The whole goal of your business is to create the life that you love. Our tagline here at Her Business, do what you love every day. I truly believe that that is what we should be striving for. So find the avenue that feels right for you. And some of this is going to take some turning inward. And I'm here for you if you have questions or you want to chat about it. How do we lead ourselves better? Because we have to start leading ourselves in order to lead other people. Having a support system around us really helps. When you can see other women walking the talk, sharing their advice and stories, you can do the same. And that's one of the best parts about being part of the Her Business Network. We're a community of hundreds of women business owners in all sorts of industries coming into our leadership, coming together to grow. And so if that's something that you're not a part of yet and you want to be a part of that, then head on over to herbusinessnetwork.com or just Google Her Business Network and you can get all the details and you can join us. And I love doing this show for you. But here's the thing. I love it when it's a two-way conversation. I love to hear from you, what you learned, what you're taking away, what you're implementing. So follow us on Instagram. We're at Her Business. And you can direct message me over there. And if you enjoyed this episode, then go ahead and leave us a review. I know I'm asking for a little more of your time, but it means so much to me, and it means that more and more women get access to the strategies and the interviews that we're sharing, etc. So I truly love hearing your thoughts. And speaking of thoughts, recently, just a couple of episodes ago, I interviewed the wonderful Valerie Khoo, who's the head of the Australian Writers' Centre. Her interview was about following our hunch and the power of pursuing curiosity in our business. And we've had the most amazing feedback to that episode. Women who really related with this idea of following their curiosity, discovering what they love. And one of the people listening was Esther Espinoza from Five Sisters Ministry. Now, she's got a really interesting business because she creates Christian resources for kids and for teenage girls so that they can understand the Bible and connect with God. And she listened to episode 313, which, as I said, is all about curiosity. And she said, I loved it. I need to explore my curiosities more. And so, Esther, I'm glad that sort of lit the fire under you to think about, well, what else am I curious about as you grow your membership, as you help these teenage girls about something that you are passionate about, something you believe in. Explore that curiosity. And so I'm going to put a link to that episode inside of the show notes for today's episode. You're going to find that and anything we've talked about here today over at herbusiness.com/316. But my main thing I want to say is if you have some thoughts, rate or review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening, but also just feel free to shoot me a direct message. Once again, details from today's show will be over at herbusiness.com/316. Now, if you're a regular listener of the show, you're going to know that we did a recent episode with Lisa Shannon of Carmine Line Consulting about how to be seen as the go-to expert in your field. It's a really great companion to this mini-series, and so I'm going to put a link to that in our show notes as well, because, again, that was a really great episode, and Lisa just brought such amazing insights on the psychology of being seen as the go-to person in your industry. So if you're new to the show, be sure to subscribe so that you get the next episode, and join me next time right here on the Her Business Podcast. Bye for now.